Hey y'all, welcome in and welcome back to the channel and welcome to a new video. Earlier this week, or last week more like, I asked you if there was anything you needed to be talked out of buying in Black Friday or for Black Friday. And many of you wrote in, and I'm going to do some de-influencing and trying to talk you out of these items today. I think it's one thing to talk generally about how to navigate Black Friday, which can be helpful. It's another thing to kind of have examples or to practice thinking about things that we actively want. Before we jump into doing that, I would like to say that most of these products aren't inherently harmful or bad, or like they couldn't ever be useful or a good purchase to anybody. So if you're looking for these things or you feel like something is right for you, there's nothing inherently wrong with that. Today, the focus is on thinking critically about these products and why they might not be a right fit, because that was the ask. So let's get started. And first up is the Dyson Airwrap. Every Black Friday season, this one comes up because it's such an expensive product that Black Friday usually is the time of the year where it's at its most affordable or more, or I would say it's its lowest price. And I think that is what can get people into the Dyson era. Like maybe $700-800 is not, I think the last I checked, it was over 700 Canadian dollars. And so for a lot of people, that's not like entertainable. But then if it's $100 off or $200 off, people might be considering or feeling like they get a good deal, which is a factor. I think as well with the Dyson Airwrap specifically, what tempts people is, I think, a romanticized notion of what it can do, what their life would look like with it. People can feel like, oh, it's gonna give me better hair. Or I'm like imagining themselves using it. And I really think it's like this fantasy self romanticized routine or life kind of thing. The first question I think to ask is, what problem are you hoping for the Airwrap to solve? And can it solve that thing? If we're thinking about something like, oh, I want my hair to look nicer or I want my styling to be easier, we can take that concern and directly apply it to the product. Does it actually make styling your hair easier or make it look nicer? Are you really going to have a fundamentally different outcome of the product versus traditional styling tools? Because traditional styling tools do the same thing as the Air Wrap. What we're getting is largely like a multi tool. So you just have one thing instead of many, which is a convenience factor. And what we're paying for is a better version of a thing we already have, opposed to something fundamentally different that we just don't have. So if your current tools are working for you, you're not going to have better hair necessarily or use it more because you have something different. And also, how often do you realistically style your hair now? If it's not that often, getting a new tool, like, will that actually change that habit and that preference? My guess is probably not. I think it's also worth thinking about the practicalities of owning it. Where would you store it? Would you replace the tools that you have with this? I think people think that they're going to do it, and then they realize that maybe there's a little bit too much of a learning curve with some of the tools, especially the curlers, that they don't want to do that every time. Like, I think that a traditional curling wand is easier to use than, or quicker, I should say, than their wrap tool, because it takes a little bit more time to like get the thing wrapped onto your hair. Have you seen people with your hair type use this tool? And like, do you like the way it looks on whatever kind of hair type you have? The Air Wrap is a really popular tool in like kind of the beauty space or lifestyle space. Sometimes people like review it and love it. Other times you just kind of see people use it. And when you see something over and over again, it's really easy to mistake visibility for personal need. I think our minds can associate all the people have it with it must be good or it must be an essential. And if we feel like, oh, we'll be a better version of ourselves with this tool, is is the better version of yourself really found in a consumer product? So before buying, there's a few things that you could try out. You could do your hair with tools you already have for a few weeks or experiment with different techniques. Ask yourself if the styling time fits your life. If you can't keep up with a routine with the tools you already have, the Air Wrap won't change that. Next up is a specific nail polish collection. This one is the Mooncat Avatar collection. They say I haven't bought nail polish in over a year, but I majorly overconsumed previously. I have around 200 bottles. I'm currently doing a no polish left behind where I'm using each polish and tracking, but this collection is calling me so hard. I went and looked at these nail polishes and they really are beautiful. Like, I get the allure, I get the appeal. Also, if you're somebody who is into that specific IP, like I've I've sometimes given people grief about IP, but I do know that there is specific IP that would get me. Case in point, I have I mean, it's actually kind of funny since I bought these stickers like 2 years ago, I have I still enjoy an ACOTAR moment, but I'm much more into Fourth Wing now than I was 2 years ago, which makes more sense as, the books have gone on. I get the IP. Because you already have 200 bottles of nail polish, I would ask, which, depending on the type of person you are, this might appeal to you, hopefully it does. Consider how long, on average, it takes you to finish up a bottle of nail polish, or since you've already been tracking, using every single one of your polishes one time, it sounds like. How far are you into this project and how long has it taken you to get there? Right now, are you at 85? Have you finished using each one time? So, how much more to go would you have to just use each polish one time? And how long would you suspect it takes you to finish one bottle? I'm kind of like, I've personally been using nail polish less and less over the past 2 years. Previously, I was like 2 to 4 years per polish. So if I owned 50 nail polishes and let's say I was on the quicker side, 2 years, that'd be like 100 years of nail polish. Given that like I only ever finish like one polish every 2 years, I never finish really more than two. So maybe it's not quite 100 years. Maybe we'll even say it's 50 years. That's like my nail polish is not going to last that long. And so some of this math might help indicate to us that what we are drawn to is like the beauty of the collection or the intellectual property of the collection opposed to the nail polish itself. 200 nail polishes is a robust enough collection to have all kinds of cool and unique nail polishes. And my guess is that you probably have all of the shades that you could ever really want, like, or use, I should say. And you probably have either like a full spectrum of the rainbow or you have maybe multiples, if not like the whole rainbow. If let's say you're not into blue, then maybe you only have like one blue or no blues, but you have multiple of the colors that you really like. And so the desire for this collection is not coming from utility of you might benefiting from a new color or something like that. And I think that what can also be at play is the temptation, maybe, of the collector's identity. Even if you haven't purchased nail polish in a year, you can think to yourself, you're looking at this, I love nail polish, or I'm a collector of nail polish. I appreciate nail polish and beautiful colors. Like I'm that kind of person. And we can let that narrative and that identity that we put onto ourselves influence us into buying something. Another question to ask yourself would be if this collection is in fact permanent, would you still want it? Also, I would ask, what are these nail polishes bringing that I don't already have? Like, what are they offering me that I don't already have? And if it's something that's not about the nail polish, like as an example, oh, it's Avatar, that's not about the nail polish. And if you think of something like, oh, there's a green in there. Do you already have a green or a sparkly green? Could you recreate some of this stuff with things you already have, like maybe layering? If you don't have a sparkly green, like maybe you have a sparkly top coat to go on top of a green. I think that's a question that can help ground you in the moment. Like, what can these nail polishes really offer you that your other 200 polishes don't? And also, when would be enough? Like, if it's not 200, would it be 250? Would it be 300? Would it be once you have five sparkly green nail polishes? Like, what does enough feel like for you. I think the no pan left or the no polish left behind project is really excellent in helping reacquaint you with your collection of items. And I really would love for you to honor that. And I think maybe what you could think about is how you'll feel at the end, how you'll feel sticking it out, how you'll feel knowing that you did that. As somebody who has done something like this before, I can tell you, I still like am proud of accomplishing that goal years later. And I think you'll be proud of yourself too. So, how can we allow ourselves to stick to the goal while also making the waiting maybe like not so terrible or not so like, "Ah, I want it." Maybe reorganizing or redisplaying your collection. I've personally found reorganizing my items, you get to touch them and interact with them and see all the beautiful things that you have, but then you also get to display them in a more maybe interesting way so you can perhaps get some of that novelty. I also would do your best to recreate your favorite colors from that collection or see how close you can get. Because sometimes, like, we don't necessarily need that exact thing, and getting close enough will scratch that itch. It can show us we already have great things in our collection, and it might already show us as well that what we're kind of chasing is more novelty opposed to the thing. You get in, let's say, 5 new nail polishes. Now you're going to be stuck using them, and we don't actually want to spend the time to use them. We just are thirsting for novelty, or we're so caught up in the beauty of something that we just feel like we want to have it, but we don't actually want the responsibility of owning it. Next up is ThreadUp. Somebody says thrifted clothes from the ThreadUp sale. It's a lot harder to convince myself I shouldn't spend money when it feels like I'm buying from a more eco-friendly source. First of all, ThreadUp always has a sale. I've had stuff in my ThreadUp cart since September. I've been convinced that, oh, I'm going to buy these things, or like I'm going to shop on ThreadUp, or I'm going to buy my next things on ThreadUp. The reason why I don't is because their shipping and the conversion and then the duties that come to the door are stupidly expensive. It's not that it's a bad place to shop, and that can get us to justifying buying things that we wouldn't ordinarily. But it's important to remember that the deal is going to be there. They've had a 50% off deal since September, and literally every time I've gone on, they've had a deal. I've never gone on to ThreadUp and they are not having a deal. So it's not particularly special. And maybe that alone is enough to help maybe like debunk a little bit, not debunk, like encourage you or think of ThreadUp as perhaps less exciting. Now, a question I would ask yourself would be, are you buying this because you genuinely feel like there's a need there or a want? Like you think there's a utility value you'll use and like that thing? Or are you shopping because the eco-friendly label makes the shopping feel harmless? Shopping in secondhand marketplaces can be a way to bypass guilt, and the environmental sustainability messaging can feel like a bit of a permission slip to continue shopping as we might have, or to buy things we don't actually want, or to kind of get those itches for shopping that we might, or scratch the itches, I should say, that we might normally go to, let's say, fast fashion. Like you continue some of those hobbies, or not hobbies, habits, but we feel okay doing it because it's in the secondhand route. So one question we could ask ourselves is, would you still want these items as items if you saw them on a different retailer? I know that there might be sites that you would just never shop at, but think about a retailer that you like the clothes of or style of or aesthetic of, or just think about these things if they were on a different format, different website. Would you still like them as the item? If the answer is no, then it's not really about the item. If the answer is yes, then there might be something there of, yeah, okay, maybe you do like these items, maybe they would be a good purchase. Another question could be, are you buying these things because there's like a real gap or need in your wardrobe, as we've discussed, or because you fear if you don't, you won't be able to buy them? Like you're just going to miss out on a great deal, or you're going to miss out on these things because someone's going to snatch them up and there's only one of such a thing. Secondhand shopping is really great. And I'm not trying to discourage shopping secondhand marketplaces. However, we can continue the kind of shopping habits that we've once had in the secondhand marketplaces because we feel good about how or why we're shopping. And this is, I think, a great point to reiterate that you can still have a closet that's too full. You could feel overwhelmed with the amount of clothes that you have. You can experience decision fatigue. You can still have mental stress or clutter or kind of have those consequences even with buying secondhand clothes. So, a couple of things you could do. One, you could try a style challenge, restyling some of your clothes so you can kind of switch things up or kind of create new outfits, have some freshness, have some novelty. I have a style challenge from October that you could play with if you're so inclined. Or like there's tons of them on the internet or social media. You could find one. You could browse through your own closet like a thrift store. Imagine, or maybe even, let's say your friend has the closet that you have. How might you act with your clothes? Or you could truly just wake up one morning and like grab grab a tote bag. Listen, thrift store girlies are often tote bag girlies. I know you have a tote bag. Go get your tote bag. Go get your most favorite tote bag, okay? Go like make your coffee. Go like get dressed for the day and then go in with your tote bag and your coffee and go browse through your closet. And then you can try on some stuff, try on some outfits, and just have like a little shopping moment. I think that's fun. All right, we're gonna move on. And the next one is a great one. This person says, things to make your life better in 2026. Journals, gyms, sportswear, kitchen machines, gadgets, I think. Books, everybody wants a good start in the new year, so it's tempting, even though deep down we know you can't buy self discipline. All of the things that they've said are really traditional or classic things that people buy to get that fresh feeling, or things like people want to be different. And so they go to shopping to buy something different when really the desire is fine. Like the desire to be different or have different habits is totally fine. But is your shopping for this thing coming from a desire to actually be different, or are you trying to use shopping as a shortcut? And so, with a specific item, you can ask yourself, is this item helping me build the habit, or is it a shortcut for a habit? This is the listen, I say this all the time. I'm so sorry for sake of me. All of these things are classic things for you to build the track record first. Focus on the track record. So let's talk. What do we have here? We have the gym. Okay. You're somebody who doesn't work out. Maybe you go on walks outside, but you're not somebody who has like a workout or movement routine. What you could do is you could focus on building the track record of movement, establishing a movement routine for a long enough window where it's like you've confidence that you've stuck to it, you've built the track record before you buy something. Maybe depending on whatever it is in question, it's 2 weeks, maybe it's 4 weeks, maybe it's 6 weeks. And then you could buy something. And at that point, you may have enough knowledge or skill or, experience under your belt to know if you would need things or not. I think as well, like, what's the actual change you want to make? And do you want to make a change? Because sometimes we just get so caught up in the fantasy self and who we want to be and the lifestyle we want to have. That is what drives our desire to buy things. And it feels like a tangible action we can take right now, opposed to actually wanting to take the action to do whatever thing we're interested in. Every item can symbolize a different version or a better life. Planners were more organized. We have discipline, maybe. Sportswear can symbolize consistency or even self discipline or health. Are we more interested in that identity shift, or are we interested or willing to put in the work? And the track record, sorry, can help us do that. Another question you can ask yourself is, would I want said item in March, as an example? Because I would say like November, December, for a lot of people, we are really thinking about the next year and we're in that new year, new me excitement energy. So once that moment is gone, would you still want the thing? Before buying something new, you could ask yourself some of these questions. Do I have a version of this I could use? And am I already using what I own? So if you have workout clothes already, are you actively using your workout clothes? Are you actively journaling? Is there a free or cheap or low cost way I could get some of this feeling to help me practice or develop a track record? Last year, I printed off some printables for a planner that I wanted to buy and used that for a few weeks. And that kind of gave me it scratched my itch. If your answer is not really, like, I don't really use my kitchen gadgets that I already have, or I don't cook a lot, or I don't use my workout gear that much, then new items, like, we're going to fall into the same habits. They'll give you nicer versions of things that you won't use. All right, next one. This person wrote, Diamond Art Club has a massive Black Friday sale. I wait all year long for it. I have 5 kits in my stash. I need nothing. So, my question for you is, are you excited to make art, or are you excited to acquire new stuff? And I guess in addition to that, how many kits have you used in the past year? I think that there's a difference between loving the activity and loving the possibility of the activity. These kinds of kits can represent hope or motivation, or maybe even like future relaxation or future creativity. And we get drawn to that opposed to doing the thing, maybe even having options, or just this excitement of, maybe you've seen these 5 things, they've been in your stash for a year. Maybe like you're sick of seeing them and it would be a little bit more exciting to get new items. And would you want these items in April, as an example? As in, if these items were available at the same price and it's April, would you buy them? Would you even want them? This time of year can really create a fear of missing out. Sales do that generally, but if we know, oh, Black Friday, there's sales, like you're anticipating a sale, it's there, we can feel like we won't ever get another sale like this. And our whatever it ends up being, we can get excited about it. It might not even be the best sale of the year, but there's a sale. And so you've anticipated it and then you start thinking about it. It can create a fear of missing out on this sale, on a deal, getting something at the best price. Another question would be, would adding a kit or 2 kits or 3 kits or 4 kits, would that change your experience? Would you enjoy your hobby more? Would it expand your creativity, offer you something different, or would it ultimately create a backlog of products? And how would you feel about owning more backlog? Because sometimes this can be a positive thing for people, but other times it can be negative, as in you get stressed out because you now own so much stuff. One thing you can think about would be, I think I already mentioned it, how many of these kits do you typically use, let's say a month or a year? And so let's say you do 1 kit a month, you now have 5 kits that will last you, if you, let's say we don't count November, December, January, February, March, April, like you're good until next April. So those 5 kits represent months of creativity, which is a gift. It means you've already created your own, like you already have your own personal crafting library that you can draw on and use. If you're feeling like you really just want one, maybe now's the time to pull out one of those kits and work on it. This can help you practice your hobby and get you like touching and feeling and just like in touch with your hobby, opposed to like buying stuff for your hobby. You might regularly use these kits on a regular basis. That's totally valid. I'm not saying that that's not true. What I am saying is that if we're just so caught up in the buying of the thing, actually working on our project can help reacquaint us with the hobby itself. Next up, we're talking about activewear. And this person says, I work out 5 or 6 times a week, but have 12 plus items of each bottom and top. I need 9 of these at the absolute most. I don't need more, I need less. Adding to add that I have 12 plus sports bras too. WTF. Activewear is so easy to overbuy because it does, there is a utility function of it, but there's also a fashion function of it. And I think there's also like a fantasy self thing that could be here too, like imagining the kind of person you could be with these items, or maybe even, oh, if I had newer or cuter sports bras, like maybe I would go to the gym more. We were just kind of talking about this. So let's kind of think about this more practically. What do you think these new pieces will do for you? My guess is that they probably won't do anything different than the stuff you already have. Like leggings, yes, there are different types. And you know what? Funny enough, I the kinds of leggings that I've been drawn to are typically more of like the yoga style. Like I've typically hated compression leggings because they don't feel super comfortable. And I like to have more like less restriction in my movement. But I've since like really learned that those yoga leggings do not stay on when I run. They do not. They just fall down. So there are different types of fabric and there are different use cases for leggings and also sports bras. But my guess is if you already own 12, you already have the variety to suit your needs. So buying anything different isn't going to offer greater utility than what you already have. It may just take up more room and stress you out. And you already probably like 12, you already probably have enough colors or things to kind of mix and match. So you're not really getting into anything new there either. What could suck you in is just like the new stuff, which we'll talk about, or maybe like a new print or a color. Once you already kind of have the basics, then we can start looking at like what else could we buy? What else could we buy? And maybe we're looking at things that we normally wouldn't entertain because our needs are met in that specific space. Then we start looking at the what else and what else. So we probably wouldn't have better workouts or be able to go farther or lift heavier or be more flexible depending on whatever it is you're doing. And what you could be looking for is novelty or excitement that we have maybe trained or have the habit of going to stuff to get that feeling. So, how could you feel excitement or novelty about your clothes or your workout clothes specifically without buying something new? I'm saying now, like, are these really offering you something different than you don't already have? If there is something being offered that you don't already have, and I'm not talking about a color, I'm talking about a functionality here, that could be worth considering. Also, we could think about like finding the perfect X. And I think companies try to sell us on who we could be if we just had the right equipment. Maybe you could be faster or stronger if you just had the right legging. Or they say that you'll get better compression or better support. Or sometimes, if you're following a specific brand that you like, they might offer like an updated version, like the 2.0 bra or the whatever version of the thing. More comfortable feel, more comfortable fabric. And so we can feel like we're missing out on those developments. But it's a legging. Like the technology is really not changing too much. Yeah, there's some stuff that's like kind of shit and it's thin. Fine. If you have stuff you already like and fits you, then new stuff is probably not going to do anything different. So some things you could do potentially would be you could do cut this in half. So if you said, okay, I work out 5, 6 days a week, you did say that you would use a maximum of 9. You could create like a smaller capsule, either of somewhere between 6 and 9, and then you put away whatever is left over. So you create a little mini capsule, and then you live with that for a few weeks, and then reintroduce those other stuff, and then that could build in some excitement. Because sometimes, like initially, it might not change things, but then over time, you can forget just because it's out of sight, out of mind. So if you set an alarm to, let's say, a month from now to bring back out those pieces, you would be like, oh yeah, that was so great. I love that. You could create a favorites drawer. So you're thinking about like your favorite items, your favorite outfits, and you can lean into that appreciation of it. You could also focus on maybe putting together combinations of outfits you haven't before and putting together pieces that you haven't. Maybe some ways to introduce some excitement or novelty. Okay, holiday pajamas are up next. And I think what can suck people into this is the idea of like comfort or tradition or bonding, because a lot of the ads and imagery that at least I see around holiday pajamas are all about like families doing things together, togetherness, or getting them for a Christmas card, that kind of stuff. And so we may want the pajama because of the feeling or the activity or what we think that they might do for us. So are you trying to buy these as a shortcut to togetherness? or because of this like fantasy or romanticized idea about what these pajamas will do for you or your family. And this would be the reminder that like togetherness or connectedness is created by you and not your clothes. And holiday pajamas and how useful they are is really going to depend on the person or the family. There's some people who have their pajamas and they wear them for like 10 years and it's a favorite thing of theirs. For other people, they get them because they think that they'll be fun or exciting or cute. They wear them for a season and then they just kind of sit around in the drawer and they don't really wear them again. I was one of these people. I bought holiday pajamas a few years ago and I don't wear them. They kind of annoy me because I already have clothes I enjoy wearing to bed. And I'm I don't know, like there's a couple of things that I'm obstinate on, and one of those are my pajamas. I don't wear typical pajamas. I just love sleeping in a sweatshirt and a t-shirt. And I have specific t-shirts that I like the feel of that I sleep in, and I have specific sweatshirts that I have been wearing for years. And no matter what I try and buy and wear instead of them, I don't like it. I always fall back to the sweatshirt and the t-shirt. I would maybe like wear a pajama pant that I could get into, but like a full set, it would just not stick. So, would you actually use these during the holiday season and how long would you wear them? So, what kind of person are you and are you comfortable with storing these things for like 10 to 11 months and not using them? Like to me that bothers me. But to you you're like, "Oh yeah, I love these pajamas so much. It's worth hanging on to. It's worth that space in my closet." I would also think about the longevity of these items. Do you see yourself wearing these pajamas every holiday season for the next decade? Because if not, or like you're buying them for a Christmas card or like a family moment, they can just like end up in the thrift store or a landfill or something like that. And they can be difficult to resell because they're highly specific. So I would consider the life cycle of your product. The next one is about holiday beverages, and I think this one is so if you already have a cupboard full of teas, including holiday teas, then this really isn't about the teas, and it's about perhaps novelty or wanting something like a feeling or an experience. Like for some people, the tea is all about the coziness or part of a cozy atmosphere, ambiance. Maybe you're imagining the snow is falling and you're drinking your tea and you're watching a movie or something like that. Or maybe it's a bit of, "Oh, I haven't tried this flavor," or you like a brand and you wanna try other teas from this brand. So, it's like the chase and the, "What else could I buy?" Or maybe there's something better out there that could be happening here. A lot of what I said about the nail polish applies here because if you're somebody who already has that collection going, then it's not really about the tea and it's about all the other things around it. So, although these might not be expensive items, I think they can draw people in, especially if you're seeing people have their cozy tea routines or they are doing like a hot chocolate station or something like that. And you go, oh, well, wouldn't it be nice if I had that too? Oh, it's not that much money, or, maybe I have a little bit more room. And if you're a tea drinker, then it takes time to go through all of your tea and then if you already have this stash of items that are holiday specific and you don't finish them this holiday, then you're gonna have to work on them next holiday. And just like using them can just drag them out, like drag out the experience of owning the item. That like maybe it wasn't actually ever about the item, but more about like the feelings about the item or trying to get that coziness or this ambience or something like that. So if you already have a stash of tea, go in there. Go acquaint yourself with all the tea that you have. Go right after this video and make yourself, a cup of tea that is one of those seasonal holiday flavors. Go ahead and create that cozy ambiance with the stuff you already have. And you may just find that the stuff you already have is good enough or it's great. And you can give yourself that vibe using everything you already have. And I think it's worth reiterating that coziness is not dependent on the flavor. It can really be experienced via our environment. So how could you give yourself some of those cozy vibes with the environment you already have? And think, I mean, you already have some tea that you can choose from, and you can choose from it with intention, or, maybe you could even create a list of the teas you think you have and then go in and match up that to reality. Because that might just help like heighten the surprise if you figure, oh, I totally forgot I had this tea flavor. The last one for today is a new record player. This person says they already have one. They're just looking for an upgrade. They actually say, I want a nicer one. So the first question I would ask is, what does nicer mean to you? Better sound quality? Just more expensive? More aesthetic? Sometimes we say nicer to just mean newer. And once you've defined what nicer is, then you can assess whether a new record player would actually do that thing. Or you could assess whether buying a new record player is solving a problem or if it's really just about some kind of ambiance or mood setting or meeting a particular fantasy. Also, how often do you listen to records? Some people really love the idea of being a vinyl person, even if they don't listen to them. They're just kind of caught up in that feeling. So, if you're somebody who currently plays records only on the rarest of occasions, then how would getting a newer record player with better sound quality or more aesthetic, how would that change your experience of using the item? I would consider the environment as well because let's say you've purchased some new things for whatever room the record player is in. This could be like oh my gosh, what's the name for it? Oh, it's the Diderot effect in action. Where you buy one thing and it leads to another thing. I have a whole video on the Diderot effect if you want to catch more about it. But this could be that in action, where you've bought one thing and now a whole host of improvements kind of stem from that in this specific case. So I would also ask, is your desire about getting like truly something that's going to enhance your experience, or is it about getting something that looks better in your room? And it's like, listen, there are some things out there that are truly eyesores, and you look at it and you just go, what the is that every time? It just, or it just bothers you. So it's okay to have things look nice in your room, like that's fine. But if the thing doesn't actually bother you, then it might not really be about that. Or you could maybe like, what if you rearranged what you already have? Like maybe you have multiple pieces of furniture, you could put it on a different furniture and put a potted plant beside it. Or improving your storage system or your record management system or something like that. And it's not actually a problem in the way that it looks or the aesthetics. Does that make sense? And like many of the other things we've talked about, many people can feel like they'll listen to more records if they just had a nicer system. And if your system is truly like falling apart, it's broken, it's really challenging to use, and if that's the scenario that you're in, I feel like you probably would have said something about that. But in the off chance that it is true and you haven't said anything about that, I would really consider um, doing your research into solving that problem. What make or model would do that? Now, that's everything for me today. I hope I did some of y'all justice, gave you some things to think about and consider before purchasing something new. If you have any suggestions for any of these folks, if you've been in one of these circumstances, what is something that has helped you? I would love to hear from you. And I hope others would love to hear your thoughts or your ideas or your suggestions in the comments. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope to see you again around here soon for a new video. Bye.